Greetings and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're only a couple of days away from the new patch. The Void Gauntlet's going to be released pretty soon. It can only be like 2 or 3 days more. So, you know, we all have to get ready now. We all have to get our builds together, and that's why I'm sharing my build with you. Of course, we're on the PTS right now, or on the PTR as New World calls it. We don't have access to all the good gear. Unfortunately, I kind of wish we had more, more options for gear. I wish we could craft something. Unfortunately, that's not really working on the PTR right now. So we have to make do with what we got. So let me just show you the build real quick. So we're working with the Void Gauntlet and the Firestaff. I think that's a great combo because the Void Gauntlet is it does have some ranged abilities, but I think it doesn't really shine at range. It's good at like mid range to close combat. I think that's where the Void Gauntlet really shines because like a lot of the abilities have a short range or are really designed to be a melee skill. So I think pairing it with a ranged weapon can really help. Of course, you can play the Void Gauntlet with all kinds of weapons, and we're going to be exploring all kinds of weapon setups with the Void Gauntlet pretty soon here. But to start off, I think this is a really good combo, especially because the Void Gauntlet has a lot of damage over time attacks. So does the Firestaff. So they stack quite nicely. The Void Gauntlet also benefits from having debuffs on the target. So the more debuffs you have on the target, the more options you have with the Void Gauntlet. So having the Firestaff that can add a burn to your opponent makes it really good, really nice. So yeah, let's just go over it real quick. We're of course in light armor. I think light armor is quite important. You could play this in medium and this would work fine. I personally prefer the damage and the extra healing from light armor because they increased it and I think it's working now. You deal 20% bonus damage and 30% bonus healing. That is the key for the Void Gauntlet, in my opinion, because the Void Gauntlet, in case you don't know, is a hybrid between a damage weapon and a healing weapon. So it scales with intelligence and focus, and it offers both healing and damage. But the way it does it, it's kind of like the abilities are kind of like the damage and the healing are kind of like baked into the abilities, so you don't have to like choose. Oh, do you want to go for a healing skill right now, or do you want to go for a damage skill right now? They do damage and do the healing based off of different things. There's lifesteal, a lot of lifesteal, of course, where it scales directly off of the damage you're doing, or it scales off of your weapon damage that you're having, or there's healing that scales purely off of the focus that you have, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of healing sources, a lot of things you can do. So I think having the 30% bonus healing is a key really to success with this gauntlet, really getting the nice healing out of it. So yeah, I think light armor is really nice. If you don't like light armor, like I said, medium would be fine. There's definitely a benefit to having the cheaper dodge rolls, or like the cheaper bunny hops. I call them in medium armor. So that works fine, but I think damage and healing, you should definitely go for that. When it comes to the perks, unfortunately, like I said, we don't really have a whole lot of good perks to choose from, but you should make sure you have perks that reflect your weapon. Unfortunately, since we're using the Void Gauntlet, as far as I know, we don't really have access to uh, any uh, any Void Gauntlets that actually have a Void Gauntlet perk on them. And we will be going over the Void Gauntlet perks in a little bit because they're really good. They're one of the best weapon perks I've seen on any weapon. They're really great. But, a couple honorable mentions here. Efficient Burnout is good because I'm using Burnout. So, having that on there is definitely nice. This one here has refreshing pillar of fire, so that is also pretty good. You should really see that you get perks that reflect the abilities that you're using. So if you want to use different abilities from the ones that I'm going to be showing you in a second, of course, make sure you get gear that reflects that. When it comes to the gems, I went for the diamonds here, the Wilderness Warp, because you get the physical and the elemental damage absorption, and I think that's quite important. Of course, you can play around with a couple different ones. Um, there's a couple good ones here. The Opal gives you the elemental damage absorption, so if you're fighting a lot of mages, that could be good. Or if you fight like a very specific type of damage. You could have like a really like fine-tuned min-max build if you're going against certain types of people. Strike damage, for example. Let's see what else we got here. Thrust damage, of course. That's a good one. Void damage absorption. That could be interesting. I think if you put the amethysts on and get the void damage absorption, that could actually be quite interesting because in the beginning you're gonna have a lot of people trying out the void gauntlet, so you will be encountering a lot of void damage. So it's not a bad choice, honestly. Like throw on a couple, or maybe go for a full setup. Throw these void damage absorptions on. Whatever you want to choose, everything's fine. I think the diamonds are just the best pick because they kind of cover the physical and elemental damage. They don't really go into specifics. Of course, the bonus you get from them is not as high as the really specific ones, but they just cover everything and you don't have to worry about anything. So I think that is mighty fine here. When it comes to offensive perks on the weapons, I discovered something that that's not new, but I've never really like looked into it. Keen speed. Keen speed is really good. On critical, you gain 30% extra movement speed for 3 seconds. Cooldown 5 seconds, so it's up a lot. And what I discovered with the Void Gauntlet is, since the Void Gauntlet is a very like crit heavy weapon that has a lot of crit bonuses and benefits from a lot of crit. You should definitely build for crit, and you do have some crit options in the weapon, of course. But yeah, with that, if you combine it with the keen speed, you're going to be critting a lot. And this gives you a lot of speed, especially when you go for the Void Blade, which is a melee attack. It makes it very easy to stay right at your target and kind of bamboozle them a little bit because you can like roll around them with the extra speed that you have. You're really hard to pin down. You're on this side, now you're on that side, now you're behind them, now you're in front of them. You're so fast when you're rolling and attacking with the Void Blade. Having the keen speed on there is absolutely fantastic. So this is definitely a recommendation. I was surprised how much fun it is. I was kind of in the beginning when I played this, because like I didn't really choose this. I just put it on because I thought, yeah, extra speed might be nice. I kind of forgot about it. Had a couple fights and I was like, wow, I'm so fast. I don't know where that's coming from. And then I checked my perks again, and I was like, oh yeah, of course, the keen speed. That's where that's coming from. So really nice. Definitely give this a try. If you don't want to go for the speed, as you see, we have the keen, the extra critical chance, super nice, pairs well with the keen speed. Or if you want to go for vicious, that's super nice, extra crit damage. Or anything that increases your damage is definitely nice. Or anything that procs off of a critical hit. You have the keen fortify and stuff like that. You can really benefit with the Void Gauntlet, since the crit is kind of like that's his thing. Critting is the Void Gauntlet's thing. So definitely nice to have. On the Firestaff, we have the Keenly Jagged, which is pretty good. It works well on the Firestaff. When you crit, you cause a bleed that deals 7% weapon damage. As you know, the Firestaff already has a lot of damage over time going on. Then you add the Keenly Jagged on top. Uh, even more damage over time. You have the Void Gauntlet with its damage over time. You put a lot of damage over time on it. It's quite funny if you fight someone for a couple of seconds and then you see like 7, 8, 9 damage over time ticks just popping up on them and just working on them. It's quite funny. I like it. It's definitely it's special. So I really like this. When it comes to stats, of course, intelligence and focus are the main stats here. So you should make sure you have focus on intelligence on your gear. Um, when it comes to jewelry, there's a ton of jewelry that could be interesting. I don't want to give you too many recommendations here. You got to pick something that makes sense for you. But divine is really good, of course. You know, having divine on your jewelry, getting extra health from your healing effects. That's really nice. Fortify you apply lasts 13% longer. That's a really good one. The fortified one, and I will explain to you why. Because the Void Gauntlet actually has a lot of fortify, and it stacks up really really high, and it's pretty long, so getting extra a couple extra seconds out of this is really good and definitely worth it. Also sacred for the outgoing healing, really nice. Burning you apply less 12% longer. This of course does not apply to your Void Gauntlet, but it does apply to your Firestaff, so having the extra burn duration, really really nice. And you know, other perks, extra health, extra stamina, extra magica, extra mana, whatever you want to go for. Regenerating is not bad, although I gotta say I'm not a big fan of regenerating, but we don't really have the best jewelry right now, so you got to pick what you think is best for your build. When it comes to food, of course, take the highest level food that you can get. Take the highest potion that you can get. Have some regen potions, because as you probably know, the health potions and the regen potions, they have separate cooldowns. So what you can do is you can pop, of course, this potion here. You can pop this potion, and you can that really keeps you alive. Eat the food, get the recovery while you're fighting. It makes a big difference. So one thing that I do, if my potion is not up and I can't heal for a large amount of health, I eat food and I take a regen pot, and then I try to like not get hit for a couple seconds so the regen can work and give me back some health. But yeah, you probably already know that. Having a honing stone is a good way to up your damage. Although the powerful honing stones, they give 7% damage, which is definitely a good damage increase, but they're really really expensive. They're not easy to make, so you might want to go for a lower tier one, or you just drop it all together and put something else here. Maybe the oak flash bomb would be nice, reducing a little bit of damage, or whatever other consumable you want to use. It's up to you. The really important part is having good food, having a good potion, and also having a good regen potion. You should focus on that. Let's take a look at the attributes right now. So the way I split it up is I went for 200 intelligence, 50 constitution, and the rest goes into the focus. Of course, you can, if you want, you can eat some food. We do have the this one here, which gives focus. You can, of course, go for either intelligence, focus, or constitution, whatever you feel like you need more. I think the focus is quite nice here, so let's go ahead, eat that, put that on, check out the stats. So now we're sitting at 200 intelligence, 210 focus, and 50 constitution. That's, for me, that's I'm comfortable with that. If you're not comfortable with having only 50 constitution, of course you can take a little bit out of it and put it in. I would not really recommend putting too much in though, unless you're playing like a heavy build. But for a build like this, health is not doing too much for you. Because like the next milestone here is 10% max health based on your physical armor. That's not really going to do much for you in light armor, so I wouldn't necessarily go for the 100 points here. But the 200 intelligence is quite important because you get the 10 mana after a dodge roll, which is a really, really nice sustain mechanic. You also have sustain mechanics with the Void Gauntlet. So pairing that with the already existing Void Gauntlet mechanics is really nice, and it's gonna really help you keep your mana up so you can keep attacking and you never run out of it. And you don't have to use, a mana potion. You have the regen potion, which covers the mana too, right? So you don't ever need a mana potion. I don't think so, at least. The other bonuses on the intelligence are, of course, the 10% damage to light and heavy magic attacks. This is quite important for, both your weapons. And at 100, you get the 10% critical hit damage, which is super important because, crit is the name of the game here. So getting the extra damage, really nice. 150% is super, super important. So if you're not making it to the 200, you should definitely make it to the 151. 15% extra elemental damage. That's a huge buff to your damage. You should definitely have that. Do not drop below 150. Whatever it takes to get there, you got to do it. You should definitely have a minimum of 150. And then when we're looking at the focus, of course, you get extra mana regen rate, which is nice, some more sustain. You get extra 20 mana to your mana pool, more sustain. Then you get extra healing output at 150. So I would suggest definitely hitting the 150 mark here as well, because 20% healing output is a big deal. It really is. And yeah, if you're not making it to the 200, which is not super important, like you don't have to have the 200. I just go with the 200 here because I want a little bit more damage on the gauntlet, because the gauntlet secondarily scales with focus, and certain healing abilities, of course, only scale with the focus, as you will see. So a little bit extra focus here helps get the damage up, get the healing up. The perk here, the 20% duration to cast the buffs, it's not bad. You will have a lot of buffs on you. It's not super important though, but it makes a lot of sense. So I think that's the setup that I would go for. And like I said, Constitution. If you don't feel comfortable, maybe 75, maybe 80, maybe 85. If you're really not feeling comfortable, but yeah, I wouldn't really go to 100 unless you really need it. But my opinion is you don't really need it. You're going to be dodging a lot. You have a lot of fortify and you have a lot of heals on this build, so I think you're fine. You should be fine. Looking at the weapon setups here, so we're using the fireball, we're using the pillar of fire, and we're using burnout. So pillar of fire got a buff this patch. 170% weapon damage now. It's a lot of damage. It hits really hard. Still pretty clunky, kind of slow, hard to hit. I usually don't really use the Pillar of Fire against single targets unless I can, hit that thing for some reason, like if the target's standing still. Um, really useful against sword and board people, because this can hit through block, which is nice. But this is really good, especially if you have the refreshing Pillar of Fire perk on your weapon or on your gear. This is really good hitting multiple people. So if you're playing some open world PvP, fighting enemy groups, if you're doing outpost rush, if you're doing wars, or even PvP, PvE, of course, dungeons. If you're fighting a lot of mobs, hitting a group of mobs with that, and the refreshing Pillar of Fire perk is pretty much gonna like refresh the cooldown on this, and you can cast it again, so that way you can really pump out a lot of damage with this thing. And with the 170% weapon damage, it's gonna hit really hard. Of course, we're going for all the passives here. First strike, 40% more damage to foes at full health, so even more damage if you're hitting a foe that hasn't taken damage yet. And the Arson's advantage, gain 10% of your max mana per enemy hit by Pillar of Fire. That's going to help you, especially if you have the refreshing pillar of fire perk that allows you to cast it over and over again, because this will go through your mana pretty quick. So having this max mana return is really nice, really good to have. As I said, the next one is Fireball. Fireball is the bread and butter DPS, basically. Has a relatively short cooldown. It's a pretty big fireball. Uh, Deals a lot of damage. Gives you some AoE. Leaves a burning field on the ground. Really nice. 140% weapon damage. So definitely a good chunk of damage. And yeah, like it's just the best skill that you have on the weapon. It really is, because it's fast, it's instant. You don't have to like sit in like a weird animation. You can throw this thing out in the in the middle of a dodge roll or before a dodge roll. You just dodge cancel this, and it's just super nice. So really nice. Also here, taking all the passives, you know, longer lasting burning field. Technically you wouldn't need that. You know, you could technically swap that out. I think it makes sense because you can play around the burning field. You can put that on the ground, and if people want to get to you, they have to step in, right? You can just like move around that field and force people to step in there, take the burning damage. So you know, it's definitely nice to have, but not super necessary, because it's not, of course, not a whole lot of damage, but it's nice to have. And the catch here, direct hits with the fireball give you 10% of your max mana, reduce the Firestaff ability cooldowns by 70%, by 7%. That's also nice to have. You need a little extra sustain here. So definitely go for that. The next one that we have is, like I said, the burnout, which is a great skill for mobility, but also for damage. Um, it's only 120 29 weapon damage, which doesn't sound that much, but I don't know what it is. When I hit people with that, they feel it. It I feel like it hits harder than it says it here. It might just be, might just be me, but I feel like it hits pretty hard. It kind of knocks people back a little bit, and yeah, it applies burning. It's really really good. It helps you stay mobile. It helps you get out of sticky situations, because one thing this burnout does, kind of like the flesh on the rapier, it is a gap closer that goes through targets. So if you're being cornered, because sometimes people do that, they press you against a wall, you can't get out of it. You can use that to go through them. So make sure you always do that. Got to be careful though. If someone's blocking with the sword and board, it will stun you. You will hit the shield and it will bounce you off and it will stun you. Got to be careful. Someone that has, sword and board and knows what they're doing, they will block this thing, especially when they see you coming from like a distance and they have time to block. Um, it's going to be a negative for you if you hit their shield, right? Also here, all in, Firestaff cooldowns reduced by 5% each foe hit. That this could be really good in situations where you hit a lot of targets. Really make sure you get your abilities back on track. Heat it up, of course, for 50% further, which is absolutely necessary. You want that. The skill is not super satisfying if you don't have this, because you're really going to notice you're not going that far. So the 50% extra distance here, super super important. Looking at the passives that you definitely want, the Spell Slinger here is really nice. The Firestaff abilities gain extra 10% chance to critical strike. As I told you, crit is really important on these builds. The Prophet of a Fire God, while holding Firestaff, your critical strike damage is increased by 15%. That's a massive buff to your crit damage. You definitely want the Singe. Light attacks inflict burning on foes, dealing 3% weapon damage each second. They switched this around a little bit. It's a little weird to build now, because I think they switched the Singe and the Let It Burn. They're like in different on different sides now, so that's kind of weird. But you know, it's not too hard to build for a decent Firestaff build. A Clear Mind is really important. While holding Firestaff and above 50% mana, gain 5% in power. That's a nice little buff that's always active when you're above 50% mana. So that's just a no-brainer. It's so easy to get that. This one kind of similar here. While holding Firestaff and below 50% max health, deal 15% increased damage. So if you're above 50% mana and you're below 50% health, that's a 20% damage boost. So there's a lot of extra damage that's coming out of these passives. So make sure you really take them, because they can turn a mediocre Firestaff build into an amazing Firestaff build. If you're missing these little passives, you're going to feel it. It's not going to feel great. But if you have them, it makes the Firestaff really, really good. Kindle, burning lasts 20% longer. You definitely want that. You want the longer burning ticks, of course. The more burning ticks you can stack, the longer they burn. It's going to help you. It's just free damage. You know, burning dots are free damage. You definitely want to get them. This one here, let it burn. Really important. Whenever your burn deals damage, gain 10% fortify. That's really nice. You know, 10% fortify whenever the burn deals damage. Really good. Really good. Watch it burn, of course. Critical hits with Firestaff abilities to inflict burning. You definitely want that too. More burning is more good. You know, that's the rule of thumb. More burning, more good. And then this one, of course, 10% speed when you activate a Firestaff ability. Stacks with all the other speed that you have. Yeah, you definitely want that. And I choose the Runes of Helios because this one's kind of weird. The reheat, I don't really like this one. So Runes of Helios, definitely nice. You have to stand in the rune to get the 25% increased damage. So, you know, you can fight around the rune. You can use the rune for, you know, ranged fighting, you know, when you're just hitting people from a range, and just stand in the rune for extra damage. But it's not super important. If you have to leave the rune because you have to move around, it's not a big deal. 25% damage it's great to have, but trust me, it's not the end of the world if you can't stay in your rune. So I would say don't risk anything. If you have to leave the rune, you have to leave the rune. It is what it is. Okay, you get another chance in 30 seconds, and then you know you just do it again. Anyway, that's the Firestaff. Moving on to the Void Gauntlet. So for the Void Gauntlet, we're using the blade, we're using the scream, and we're using the orb. So Void Blade. Summon a blade of void energy that converts your basic attacks to melee. So instead of let me just demonstrate it. Instead of just throwing these like gooey void balls, instead of that, you basically, let's zoom in here. You summon the Void Blade. Look at that beautiful thing. And it is a melee weapon. It basically functions like a sword. It has the light attack patterns. It has a lot of lunge on the heavy attack. Just look at that lunge. I love it. The good thing is, the Void Blade has tracking. It tracks just like any other melee weapon, except the rapier, of course. So, amazing. Feels wonderful. I love it. The idea of having a tracking melee magicka weapon, I'm totally in love with the weapon. Absolutely. Really, really nice. So, yeah. Tap basic attack to perform a quick slash that deals 100% weapon damage, or hold to perform a thrust attack that deals 150% weapon damage, so really high damage. Both attacks inflict disintegrate on successful hits, dealing 5% weapon damage per second and reducing damage absorption by 5% for 8 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. Amazing. Love this thing so much. Of course, you want to take the passives. This one is really good. Gain Fortify on start, increasing damage absorption by 20% for 5 seconds. So that's just easy 20% damage mitigation when you start. When you pull out the blade and you go to town, the first 5 seconds, you're going to feel a lot tankier. That's really nice. So Vicious Void, 10% extra crit damage on Void Blade attacks. Yes, definitely. You want that. That's a big buff to your damage. No questions asked. And this one, the Leeching Blade, successful thrust attacks Heal self for 5% weapon damage per disintegrate stack on target, scales exclusively with focus. So that's why you want to have a little extra focus. Make sure you don't, neglect the focus on this. Of course, you technically could, if you're just interested in the damage, not the healing, you could just go for the intelligence. But trust me, you definitely want a decent chunk of focus. The 150% of focus is, in my opinion, really, really necessary. So that is the blade. Let's move on to the Petrifying Scream. One of my favorite abilities. Unleash a void-infused scream, dealing 100% weapon damage, staggering and inflicting root to enemies 5 meters in front of you, disables enemy movement for 2 seconds. So this can hit multiple targets, right? You can just ball up a whole bunch of people and just scream at them. Of course, the range is not super high. It's only 5 meters, but hits multiple. It deals a good chunk of weapon damage for a skill that's basically like an AoE CC attack. 100% weapon damage is pretty good. Gotta say, like, it definitely is not a bad skill damage wise. But the stagger, the root, and then the disable for the movement, super nice, super strong, so good, so good. Also, really fast skill. Can show you what that looks like when we cast it. That's it. You shoot out a wave of energy, and it feels good. It's really snappy, which is very much welcome, because some of the abilities in the game are just not super snappy. This one definitely is, and it feels great when you use it. The upgrades, of course, root duration increased by 1 second on targets below 50% health. So if you use this on, lower health targets, you get some extra root duration out of it. Super punishing for these people. Oh, trust me. I've been on the receiving end of that, and it's horrible. It's horrible. Someone catches you with that scream while you're below 50% health, you're not going to move. You're going to die. You're going to die. Okay? This one, Fortifying Echoes. Gain Fortify on each enemy hit, increasing damage absorption by 10% for 10 seconds per hit. Stacks up to 3 times. So, when I told you there's a lot of Fortify on the Void Gauntlet, I wasn't lying, okay? You can hit someone with the Fortifying Echoes here, you scream at them, this thing procs. If it's 3 enemies, let's say you have 3 enemies in front of you, you get 30% Fortify for 10 seconds. 30%. That is a 30% damage mitigation buff for 10 seconds, okay? This is or I don't even know if it stacks. I don't probably doesn't stack the duration. It only stacks the absorption. But holy Jesus, that is a lot. And then you combine this with a Void Blade that gives you or is it this one here, the 20%? That's 50% damage mitigation that you can have when you go in there. You hit him with the scream, you hit him with the blade. 50% damage mitigation makes you super tanky, even on light armor. Amazing weapon, amazing. Still speechless, really. Like, reading these passives over and over again. I'm not sure if they're going to nerf any of this, because some of it seems super strong. So I hope they don't. I love the weapon. It's amazing. Okay, next one. The Orb of Decay. Fire an unblockable orb that passes through enemies, deals 100% weapon damage, and inflicts disintegrate, dealing 5% weapon damage per second, reducing damage absorption by 5%. Stacks up to 3 times. At max range, it transforms into a healing orb and returns. It's basically like a boomerang. You throw it out, it deals damage, it comes back, flies through you, and it heals you. Super nice. Or heals anyone else that it hits on the way back. So super nice. Super nice. It heals friendlies for 20% weapon damage per second for 5 seconds. Healing scales exclusively with focus. Another reason to have a decent chunk of focus here. I love this ability. I love it. I'll show you what it looks like. It's this big ball here. And then it comes back and it hits you and it gives you the heal. Really nice. I really love it. This thing saved my ass a couple of times. When I did some duels here on the PTR, people people tend to jump in. You're fighting someone, all of a sudden someone else jumps in, a third guy jumps in. Now you have 3 people on you. You're almost dead. You fire this thing, and it hits them all. It comes back and it just heals you. And oh, it's amazing. I love it. The passes on this thing: Draining Orb, gain 5% mana per enemy hit by the orb. Could be really nice if you're like doing this in like a war or like an outpost rush where you have a lot of targets you can hit. Really nice. This one's super strong. The orb slows enemies already afflicted by any debuff, so you're gonna have a lot of debuffs on your enemies with this kind of build setup. You know, you're gonna put a lot of disintegrate on people. You're gonna put staggers and roots and stuff, burning dots on them. So you have a very high likelihood of this thing actually proccing and reducing the movement speed of your enemies by 30% for 3 seconds. Makes them nice and slow. Helps you catch up to him, finish him off. Detonating Orb. This one's a really interesting one. Press the ability input again to detonate the orb with a 4-meter explosion radius. Depending on the orb's face, the explosion will either damage enemies for 100% weapon damage or and apply a stack of disintegrate, or heal friendlies for 70% weapon damage. Healing scales exclusively with focus. So just to show off how that works, you cast it, and you cast it again, and then it explodes, hits people, or you can just do it on the way back. Which let's do that. Let's wait for the the cooldown here. See what that looks like when it comes back. There it is. Nice little healing bubble. Super nice. Probably hits a lot of people. If you're with your friends or all around you, it hits everybody. They're gonna love you. Trust me. Looking at the passives here, really interesting passives. In the decay tree, I only have 1 passive. There's more passives that you could take, but there's only so many points that you can spend. The one that you definitely should take is the Mending Evasion. Dodging with full mana heals you for 80% weapon damage. This is really nice. This saves your ass. And it's not hard to have full mana with a dodging setup, with like a light armor setup, because you're going to be dodging a lot. You have the 200 intelligence that gives you the 10% mana when you dodge, so that's going to fill up. There's this nice passive here. When you hold block, it's called Harvest Essence. It converts your health into mana over time. I'll show you what that looks like. Let me just cast a couple skills here. Get my mana low. Okay, so now I just block, and you see it fills up the mana pool. It costs health, of course, but the kicker is, oh yeah, that's dodge roll. Hey, there's the dodge roll heal, 1500 for dodge roll heal. Hello? That's amazing. But yeah, when it comes to using the block to fill your mana back up, I would say all you have to do is tap it real quick. Just, you see this? I just got so much mana back for minimum health cost, okay? For a minimum health cost. Once you're feeling better, you can of course dodge roll to get your mana back, block again. You're never going to run out of mana. You're never going to run out of mana. As long as you're dodging and like throw in the occasional little block, you just literally have to tap your block button. That's all you have to do. You just tap it. That's all. That's all you have to do. And that instantly gives you like 20, 25%, 30% mana back. It's a lot. It's a lot. Really nice. Love that. So yeah, in combination with that, with this, super nice. Looking over here in the Annihilation tree, Forsaken Pact, 10% damage while below 50% mana. So should you find yourself below 50% mana, 10% extra damage. Hey, you can't go wrong. You're gonna go below 50% mana. Not for long, but you could technically play this. You know, you could play this out if you want the extra damage. You can just go below 50% mana and just like keep it like that until you really need the mana for more casting, you know? Keep it like that. The Keen Humility. 10% critical chance while all abilities are on cooldown. This happens, of course, you know? You're going to use all your abilities and they're all going to be on cooldown. 10% extra critical chance. Hey, easy peasy. Then we have the empowering proximity. Gain empower when casting abilities within 5 meters of the enemy, increasing damage by 10% for 5 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times. That's 30% empower. That's a 30% empower for just casting abilities within 5 meters of an enemy. And you'll do this. You will cast abilities kind of close to your enemies, because you know this one doesn't have a lot of range, this one doesn't have a lot of range, and this one doesn't have a lot of range. Of course, they have more than 5 meters range, but you kind of want to be close to the target anyway. So, keep that in mind. Stay close to the target and really get your empower. It's so easy to get. Why wouldn't you? 30% damage. It's insane. It's insane. Next one, Keen Confidence, 10% critical chance while above 50% health. Boom, another one. Just so easy to get. You just stay above 50% health and you have the critical chance. So with the healing that you can get from the Void Gauntlet while being aggressive, uh, this can absolutely sustain you and keep you above 50% health. So you can always have this crit chance bonus. So yeah. Next one, refreshing precision, 10% cooldown reduction on all abilities on critical hit. So, like I said, you're going to be critting a lot because crit is just like super important for this. Make sure you build for crit if you can. Put as much crit on your build as you can, and this is definitely gonna help you here because every time you crit, 10% cooldown reduction. So that really keeps you in the game, gives you the skills back, and that kind of just feeds into that one again. Casting abilities, getting extra damage. So the less cooldown on your abilities, the more you can use this, the more you can keep your empower up. It all synergizes. It's all in there. I'm telling you, Void Gauntlet is the shit. This is the best weapon in the game. Trust me. Next one, Leeching Agony. On critical hit, gain health equal to 15% of your damage done. I mean, come on, man. Like, does it get any better? Does it get any better? Let me tell you, it does. Because we're going to be looking at this one now, the Void Caller. On successful ability hit, gain a stack of Void Essence. At 6 stacks, consume all stacks and gain a 3-meter aura that heals self and friendlies for 30% weapon damage and deals 30% weapon damage per second to enemies within. Healing scales exclusively with focus, 5-second duration, 20-second cooldown. This one is amazing. When I first started playing with the Void Gauntlet, I got a little confused because I saw healing ticks on me. They were ticking for like 600, 700 damage a second. And I just couldn't explain where that was coming from. I was like, what is that? What is that heal that's just ticking? It's super strong, 600, 700 healing every second. And it just kept going and kept going. I was like, where's that coming from? And then later on, I realized that's the Void Caller. You have like a little swirly thing around you, a little aura. And when that's active, it deals damage to people that are close to you, and it heals you the entire time. I'm telling you, the amount of healing on this weapon is insane. Good damage, super nice buffs, crit buffs, crit damage buffs, fortify, empower. It's all in there, guys. It's all in there. So yeah, that's the weapon setup, guys. Um, I think you're gonna love this. You should definitely give this a try. I'm gonna play this a lot when it comes out. So we're gonna start with the Void Gauntlet, the Firestaff. Later on, we're gonna be exploring more weapon combos. I'm thinking Ice Gauntlet, super nice. Rapier could be good. Void Gauntlet, Great Axe. That sounds nasty, really nasty. Void Gauntlet, Sword and Board has synergies too. There's so many things that you could do. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. It's my new favorite weapon. I'm absolutely in love with the Void Gauntlet. So you should definitely make sure to just give this a try when it comes out. Don't waste your time. You're gonna love it. Trust me. Yeah, that's all I have for you today. That's the build. I hope you like it. I hope you give this a try. I hope you check out the Void Gauntlet when it comes out. It is a revelation. Let me tell you. I'm still like, I still can't believe it. this weapon is overpowered, in my opinion. It might get nerfed, so make sure you use it while it's still OP. Don't complain to me when you come back in 6 months and you say, hey, I just checked out the build video, but the Void Gauntlet is not good anymore because they nerfed it. I told you, you got to play it now. Okay, that's all I have for you guys. Hope you liked it. If so, like, comment, subscribe. I'll be back with another video soon. Take it easy, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.